Looks like we have a quorum. So the first thing on the agenda, I'm your chair for the day. So we have public comment on the agenda first, and I don't think anyone has signed up. I don't know. Is there anyone online who wanted to sign up for public comment? Okay, I'm closing public comment. Okay, and then next we have considering approval of minutes of January 13 and January 20th, 2026. I have a couple of suggested changes, but I wanted to just see if anyone else had anything. No? Okay, so I sent my suggested change, my big one to, I sent it to Celia earlier, and my suggestion is that in agenda item number 4, in the January 13 minutes, that we change the second sentence somewhat. As it reads now, it says Hamilton asked board members whether each would like to continue going forward with the process of potential voluntary recognition of this union. And just to be more clear, I think I would like to change it to say, going forward with the process of drafting a policy to outline steps to voluntarily recognize a union. So, and I've already sent that language to Celia. And then my second proposed change is in the paragraph below. It's related to some statements that Andy made. And it says, Saylor indicated that the decision isn't just around voluntary recognition, union recognition, but also whether the board wishes to recognize AFSCME. And I'm wondering if we could change that to say to eventually recognize AFSCME, because that's not the same. It's not the same action. Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
The one thing I might add there as well is, I wonder if we want to say recognize AFSCME for the purposes of a collective bargaining, because we're a little fast and loose. Like, we don't have to recognize a union at all. They can form a union regardless. We're really just choosing to recognize them as a collective bargaining partner. So it might be nice to have somewhere in there the language recognize as a collective bargaining partner.
Okay. Anyone want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we adopt those 2 changes to the minutes.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
You ready now? No? Okay. That's done. Okay, and the next on the agenda, we have the bi-monthly treasurer's report.
And Adrian, I think you all have met Adriana Bonikowski. She's the financial director for the library.
Okay.
So she'll be walking us through the quarterly financial report. Take it away, Adriana.
Yes, hi, good evening. I was actually planning to join online, but now I'm really glad I was planning to do that because I was a little bit sick. So heads up, if I had get some kind of attack of sneezing or coughing, I will mute myself. But yes, so my name is Adriana Boniakowski. I'm a finance director. And actually, before I jump into, and let me share my screen really quick, because that was the main reason I wanted to join online, so I can show our financials and we can go through some things. I know you all have a pocket, but I thought it will be just easier to do so. Let me just share my screen here really quick. Okay, and let me know if you can see the pocket. Okay.
Yep.
Great. Thank you. So before I jump in and I'll go over all of our end of the year financials, I would like to bring up 2 updates. One of them is Colorado para audit. So Boulder Public Library District was selected by the state auditor to conduct eligibility and contributions for the library employees for our para retirement. Therefore, we did contact our board selected auditor, McMahon and Associates, to write that independent audit statement. They worked work closely with our HR department to review all the contributions and reports that were submitted to PARA for 2024. But the final report said there were no findings and or adjustments required. This report, it is included in the packet. It's on the page 13 if you want to take a look at it, if you already had a chance, or if you want to take a look at it later. It's very short. There's not a lot of information there, but it says that we passed. So although this audit wasn't really expected and it was cost related, it gave us just another opportunity and confidence that the library's employees' contributions for their retirement with PARA were submitted correctly. So, and they were accurate. In case anybody wonders how often this kind of audit is going to happen, we truly don't know because, but I don't think the state will select us every year to do so. But if they do, again, we always welcome those audits because we can get a feedback and get a confirmation that we are in compliance with our state and accounting regulations. So we're not afraid of them.
Was there additional cost incurred with the auditor and the involvement for this?
Yes, we haven't received the invoice yet. I spoke with Matthew. He's about to send us an invoice by end of this month, but it's somewhere around $6,000. And I apologize if you can hear my dog. So yeah, any other questions about this report? It was very quick, and our HR department worked with the auditor quickly. To be honest, like this audit was the third audit of our PARA for the same year. So originally it was done by our auditor, which is done every year. Then it was completed by our PARA, which they do every year as well. And I think the state of Colorado, they selected as it's some kind of pilot and experiment more than really the audit. So either they selected as knowing that everything is going to look really great, or I'm not sure, but we passed. So next thing on the agenda, I do want to talk about abatement levies. So as you all know, the district requested abatement refunds for the first time this year, alongside with Boulder County and Boulder Valley School District. And since it is our first time, we're just learning how they show up on our tax revenue statements and really what a taxpayer can expect when they receive their bills in the mail. I'm going to share an example of the property taxpayer bill and then mill levy breakdown. But if you are a property owner, you've probably already seen it. I know a couple of people have in the board, but I do wanted to share this with you just in case if you hear about it from other residents and are getting questions such as why Boulder Public Library District is listed twice on this breakdown. So right here we have Boulder Valley School District, Boulder County, we have City of Boulder in our breakdown, and then a Boulder Public Library District. So the first line is for our regular 3.5 mils, and then the second line is for 0.062 mils, which is for the abatement levies. It's not a significant amount, it's very small, especially comparing to the Boulder County and Boulder Valley, because they did requested abatements as well. Like I said, not everyone have, like City of Boulder didn't, and some other entities either. But yeah, in case we get asked questions about it, this is what it looks like and what it is for. I know the abatements are so tricky. So do you guys have any questions?
Yes, Andy has a question.
Yeah, thanks, Adriana. Just a quick question, or I guess two maybe questions on the abatements. First, can you just remind us what the abatements are basically covering? Like this extra tax is covering folks that either didn't pay their taxes or got reduction in their taxes. Is that correct?
So the abatements, basically, so the question, are you asking what the abatements are? So abatements are, you can basically, all property owners can appeal their property value, in the different ways. And the first way is they can appeal their property value when the assessor assesses the properties, and that happens every couple years. And I think the deadline is like June 9 to submit those appeals. But these appeals are not considered abatements, right? So they are already included in our mill levy certificate that we are receiving in May or in December. But the second option to appeal the property value is once the property owners already pay those taxes. So let's say I disagree with the property value from last year and I'm challenging Boulder County with their assessment. And these appeals are reviewed by throughout the year by Boulder County. And when they are approved, that's what they consider. They consider an abatement. So if that's the lost revenue that we received last year, and that's why we're trying to recoup that revenue back this year. And this is exactly the process why and how this recoup is happening. So once this revenue is recouped, what it's actually doing, this line right here, what it's actually doing, it's affecting other property owners in the library district, right? So it's not only affecting that one property owner that appealed and was approved. It's actually now all district property owners kind of have to split that share over a payment because we are trying to recoup that revenue.
Okay, so we're effectively taxing everybody else a little bit more to make up for the folks that got their taxes reduced.
Yes.
Okay. And then the one other question I had was I saw we basically, I think you said in the numbers there was something like let's see, primary drivers of the shortfall. You said, yeah, that you have that total amount of recouped abatements for the 2026 budget year is 375. But then if you scroll down right below the table, we also say the shortfall of abatements totaling 237. So I was just wondering what the discrepancy between those two abatement numbers comes from.
Yes, that's a good question, and that's we really calculated our abatements as of when I run this report and when I look at the numbers that I had on the spreadsheet at this amount. But what is when we completed a certificate and requested the abatement levies, we don't come up with the number. What we did, we received this mill. And this is the mill based. So this mill is based on the current year, right? So on the current year value, assessed value. So that's why it's so different. So we were surprised. We were like, oh, we're going to get more than we anticipated. But it's really, truly, now we know all the taxpayers need to kind of pay for it.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Not a question, but a comment just related to sharing the information, because I wondered about the two line items related to, that list the library district on my property tax bill. And I've had a couple people ask me about it and I could not explain it, but I now have this to better explain it. But I wondered if on the website, if there'd be some place where we'd want to just post an explanation or just to be transparent about why you have two line items related to the library district and what it is.
So different than the memo.
Well, for public share, yeah.
The memo is posted on the website. Do you want it like a separate
just something about
under finances that?
Yeah, maybe, okay. Or something that would just share,
Is what's in here sufficient if you just cut this?
I think so. I think,
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I would, make sure to include the other players in this too.
Yeah, there's, it's unfortunate, right? I don't think this happens very often that you apply for the abatement. It happens because we had a reduction in tax revenue because the legislature changed it. It's our first year. If you see, even from the title of it, the county and BPSD titled their thing abatement, so it actually shows up in your tax bill that it is an abatement. Ours doesn't show that, so learning lesson, but I don't know that we'll be applying for abatements very frequently, and I think we were all we didn't know how.
Yeah.
And then come to find out that all the people who dutifully pay their taxes are asked to pay a little bit more.
Even more.
For the people who
Yes.
didn't pay all their taxes.
Do we know
Makes it a little unclear.
what the total is that we get from that?
Yeah, it's on the first page.
Is that the
It's the-
59,000 that's in there?
It's the 374,561.
Yes, that's right.
Even that kind of layperson's explanation that you just provided, I think would be really nice to have that just as a text in there, that would just describe.
Yeah, we haven't gotten the first time. You did, so we can figure out something. I'm hoping we don't get a lot of questions. I don't know that we'll put it out again.
But is it the case that we haven't asked because we're so young? I mean, could it be that it becomes more of a norm over time? So maybe we shouldn't say we wouldn't normally, maybe we should be.
No, but I think the part
Yeah,
related
right,
to,
right.
we didn't know, we should label it abatement, like everybody else did,
Yeah.
Well, and it's gonna run out of space too.
in our line item, or
Yeah.
character count.
We'll figure something out.
But anyway, I think it would just be really helpful to have that explanation there when people are looking and have but not necessarily buried in the finance stuff, but maybe just as a,
Mm-hmm.
Well, where would you like it if it's not with finance stuff?
maybe as a, featured communication or something like that, because it's timely and it's relevant as it relates to people, planning to pay their property tax bill, whether they do it early or you do wait till June or whatever.
Would you be okay if I said we're using it to all those lost fees that we don't charge fines for anymore? This is your overdue $3.90. So
Mine's a lot more than $3.
You mean you're overdue?
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Sorry. Yeah.
When they turn off your card, that's when you pay attention.
Oh. Okay, and then you had more, right, Adriana? You had a
Yes. Yes, of course. So this is a statement of activities, and the statement is ran as of end of the year, 12/31/2025. I have our operating fund and also our grant fund, but I will focus and go really quick about through the operating expenditures and the revenue versus grant, because that's what we care about, right? The most is what are our savings for the year. So really quick, our budget column is right here, our actuals, and then encumbrances and year-to-date balances. So when you see a positive amount, it means that it is under the budget, and when there is a negative amount, it means it's over the budget. But basically, if it's a positive negative amount in the revenue, it's a good thing, because that means that we receive more funds than anticipated. But when it's negative amount in the expenses, that means we overspend it in the line. So really quick about where the revenue is missing. So this is the revenue for property tax that just like we talked about this, and it was announced during the August meeting, our property tax revenue came back at $690,000 short due to those abatements and treasurer's fees that we didn't include in the budget for the year. But we did. I'm sorry, was there a question?
No, you bring up. Oh, is anyone else noticing that? Not sure.
Am I? I'm
Just a
sorry.
little.
Okay.
Just keep going and I guess we'll.
I'll talk slower a little bit, maybe. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna turn up my Wi-Fi from my phone. Maybe that's gonna help.
I think if you lean closer to your mic too, that might help.
It's when you're turning away.
Okay. Let's try this. So we did recoup a little bit in other areas, such as book sale, cafe sale, and some other miscellaneous sales. But our ending shortfall for the revenue is about $500,000. The good news is that in our expenses, we had some savings in personnel. We have over $1 million in personnel savings, which of which is around $600,000 is from wages and vacant positions, and another $400,000 is from the benefits, and then the remaining amount is like just being conservative when we were budgeting for the taxes, such as Medicare, state or federal. So that's a good news. We have some savings in the administrative and office, which is like courier services and some office supplies, bank fees, some other permit stuff that we didn't spend. And then also in our board and legal expenses. A big significant savings were in our other services, which other services, this budget line was more for intended for any unexpected expenses, and also for our point of sale system that we didn't end up going and moving forward with, which could be very potentially more expensive. But not only that we want to save the funds, but also we haven't really found a good system that could be, could be sufficient for us as a library. No other libraries really have this integrated or innovative system for the things that we want. So we're just gonna put a brakes on this for now and kind of improve our processes a little bit with low cost in the future. So another I'm sure you probably will have some questions regarding the IT equipment and software support. We did went over the budget a little bit there, but our director, Amy Shum, she already warned the board about this during the November meeting, and she also did provided a solution for the future cost savings plan for this 2026 year. So. And then moving forward down the line, we did had a little bit more. We went over the budget and the cafe expenses, but that was very. We what we budgeted. It was our first year operating cafe in the house, and we barely budget anything for that cost and in the expenses or in the cafe and the revenue. So, but what we can tell, what we can see is about 65% of the sales go into cafe expenses and for the supplies and some services. So, any balance. Anyone has a question right now? Emma, can you hear me a little bit better? Okay, great.
Yes.
So, looking at the bottom line, we have about $1.7 million left. But what we do need to consider is also our encumbrances. So, our encumbrances column right here, what this is the I'm sorry, in this column. What this means is we have our purchase orders, contracts, open POs, contracts that we already promised to the vendor that we're going to pay. So therefore, our ending change in fund balance is 1.2. So basically, we have our budget minus actuals minus encumbrances, and this is our ending balance. So we saved about $1.2 million, but please keep it in mind this number may change a little bit because we still have to go through the audit. every year auditor requests some kind of adjustments entries for any accruals, reclassification. It could be simple as like a change of date, right? So changing a date from 2025 to 2026 or vice versa, and if it will affect this ending balance. My team and we do our best. We have processes in place. We follow the accounting guidelines. We provide any kind of trainings to minimize those adjustments when the auditor comes. But at the end of the day, they always find something, and they have special tools to help them as well. And that's their job. They need to find something, right? We pay them for it. So yeah, that's it about the statement of activities. Anyone has any questions regarding this statement? Okay, so
I have a question just related to the revenue side, and I can't think of the name of the government entity that we're doing the financing, where we're keeping our interest earnings. What's it called? I just wanted to hear how that's going and any.
That's her.
Okay, how's that going?
sure. So our Kala Trust, a majority of our interest income comes from Kala Trust. We do have slight amount, I would say a little portion of this is coming from JP Morgan interest, but JP Morgan, because we moved majority of our funds into Kala Trust, we not even and JP Morgan there the interest rate is so low now that it's almost like in our personal checking account interest, right? So it's very small. So majority of this interest is from Kala Trust. We were on the spot on this budget for the Kala Trust, but the Kala Trust rates, they dropped significantly. When we set up the Kala Trust account, I think we were like close to 5% or maybe even over. And now we are looking at in 2026, we're looking at the rates dropping to, we're already in our threes. And that's going to drop even further. So we may go to 3.0, right? 3% even, or I don't think we're going to go below 3, but I'm not an expert. I did talk to an expert and I asked about it. We did anticipate for
What
this
expert?
next year.
Say that again.
You cut out, Adriana. Could you repeat that?
The expert. Yes, the expert from Kala Trust. We met the representative from Kala Trust, and he did talk a little bit about the rates that they might drop even further down. It's out of our control, right? It's not something, it's out of their control and out of our control. But definitely, I think for the next year, what I assumed to receive an interest, I don't have this year's budget, but if I recollect correctly, it's gonna be closer to like $300,000. So it's going to be a significant drop.
Yeah, after meeting with that expert, we adjusted, well, she ran some numbers and we adjusted it so it was conservative, so that we're not too far off the mark.
Mm-hmm.
So you remember, right, and I don't know that none of you were on the committee, right? So when we did select Kala Trust, we selected the most conservative earnings model, and that was primarily to protect the board from any accusations of making money on trading in corporate debt or something like that. And so we have basically the lowest interest rates that are possible for earnings on our money. That was a decision. We can't earn a bunch of money anyway, but we chose, so I think only of all the clients of Kala Trust, we're in a group that is basically 5% of the organizations have chosen that category. Most everybody chooses a slightly more aggressive model, and that's just really, the decision was made because we are a public entity, and the board members who are on that committee really wanted to make sure that we were free and clear of any kind of accusations of making money off of.
Yeah, I mean, we
Adriana,
voted
when
on
we
it. Yeah.
talked to the expert, he gave us a sort of an estimate if we had invested at that higher interest rate, and wasn't it like $20,000
It was about $20,000 more. So
total by investing in that lower interest rate fund?
it's less than 1%. Yes. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Right.
thank you.
Did you have anything else, Adriana?
So yes, I have one more really quick. I can go through the balance sheet really quickly here. And I'm so sorry. I know I went way over the time. So this balance sheet is as of 12/31/2025. There is a grant fund, which is all of receivables and grants that we receive, for example, from the Boulder Library Foundation, and then expenses. I'm sorry, on this report is all of our liabilities. There's and also long-term fund, just so everybody understand what this fund does is we created a fund where we can create our assets in that don't affect our operating fund, right? So if we have our assets created in the operating fund, everything would be like over the budget, under the budget, everything. So that's why we have the ability to create multiple funds in the Sage Intacct. So that's why you see multiple funds here. So long-term fund is basically what we use it for is only for our fixed assets. It's depreciation, and then which is right here. And just keep it in mind that some of the assets for 2025, they're not here yet. That's something that I usually do and finalize with the auditor. I usually send it to her to make sure that we match, because there's a lot of complex process on depreciation and everything. So we need to be able to match both of us. And then also here in our liabilities, we do include what our long-term liabilities are. Accrued vacation. That's basically it. It is accrued vacation. So what this means, if we would close the library today, this is what we would have to pay out to the employees for their vacation time, and to para for the para retirement based on this vacation tax, state or federal taxes. So this is the amount in our liability. Then operating fund, it's our cash. These are our assets, any accounts receivables, and our checking account, our Color Trust Prime account as end of the year, 12/31. And this is a trend. Last year, we were about at the same amount, around $8 million in our Color Trust account. We keep all of our funds as much as possible, as long as possible, in Color Trust. And I do weekly, sometimes bi-weekly transfers whenever we need it, just so we can accrue those interest rates as much as possible. So just keep that in mind. We're trying to, me, David, and Jennifer, we review our accounts quite often, just to so we can get those interests as much as possible in our account too. And then we have our liabilities, right? So our accounts payable, accrued liabilities, which is any kind of withholdings from payroll from the employees, such as para, medical benefits that we withhold from employees, and then we have to pay to the vendor. So as of this day, this is how much we have. So I know this question came up, so this is just want to explain what this is right here. And then we have our general fund reserves, 2.5 million, and then $3.1 million. So that's about it. This is the health of our organization. If we would sell all of our assets, including vehicles, furniture, capital improvements, everything, this is basically our balance we would leave with, not including Nobo. So I think that's it I have. Any questions about the balance sheet?
No, I think we're good. Thank you. Good job.
Thank you.
As always.
So
Yes.
let's editorialize for a minute with the board. So, I think one of the questions that might pop up is like, you saved $1 million in staffing costs. Why did we have to lay people off? And so it was obvious to us at the beginning of the year. I mean, January and February, if you remember, economy's in turmoil. There's tariffs coming out every month. There were a number of jobs that were approved in the budget for 2026 that we never filled. And then the second part, for 2025, that we never filled. And then some other of the jobs were, a lot of it was the gun barrel location, which the opening date kept getting pushed back. And so we saved probably 3 months of salary savings on the majority of the staff that went into gun barrel. And that's what really accounts for that 600,000 in salary savings. The benefits thing is a number we estimate. And when you're having a whole new group of people coming online, like we had with new people in HR, new people in Boulder Reeds, and the new staff at Gun Barrel, it's difficult to know which staff members will actually take what benefits, and so it's an estimate. And so that number is probably slightly inflated as well. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
We should see a savings every year in staffing costs, just simply based on vacancy rates. And so vacancies occur, it takes us a month or 2 months to fill that job, and so there's money that would flow, so to say, but this is probably a higher percentage than we would see in an ordinary year, and that's to do with really with Gun Barrel, and the fact that in January, we kind of knew like this economy looks weird, and we just didn't fill some jobs. We were waiting to see if things got suddenly turned around.
Okay, strategic plan update.
Yeah, maybe we can make up some time here. I hope you all had a chance to read the memo. The project has begun, underway. We've talked about it a couple of times. In here, the memo outlines a lot of the project objectives. I mean, a lot of them are the geographics, like the whole neighborhood regional library, talking about the library services and what's being used currently today, coming up with some target audiences that we know we need to build on. And, I think if you sit down and parse it out, you realize like, well, that's 80% of the community right there. Well, that is true. It is about 80% of the community. Some of the groups, like the 16 to 24-year-olds, is not a high user base. So the problems are different. The challenges and opportunities are different with each one of these groups. And so families and children, obviously, are some of our highest users. It is a shrinking part of the overall population. So something we'll have to address that way. And then the capital investment plan and a cost analysis. I'm happy to take any questions on anything to do with the strategic plan. We are reforming committees. We've done the work. I haven't seen yet the full community engagement plan, but we've been with you guys to talk about in prior meetings about how necessary it is for us to have 4,000 people participate again this year. Like, that's not our intent. We're planning on doing more interviews and focus groups and direct talking to a number of people who hopefully can give us some insights.
So I have a question. Do you have plans to come to us with the progress on this before we see this again?
We will. I'll be back here in May and giving you a kind of a...
Every month I'll have a memo for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And my other question was if timeline, we approve it in October.
Yeah.
So my question is, we're gonna have a retreat in August.
Yeah.
Seems to me like we ought to have a pretty good sense for that meeting on what the plan's gonna be, so we are using that meeting based upon that.
Yeah, we won't necessarily have the final report done,
Yeah,
but we will have all the data collected.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, we'll do monthly check-ins. May, there with the new board member will be, a little bit of library 101 and how it differs from 5 years ago, and a lot of the stuff that we've discovered around the demographic analysis. And then by August, we'll be back in more fully baked thing. We'll be coming back to you in April around the questions of, or is it March? I don't even know. We're coming back to you, it's March, so we're coming back to you in March with the memo, which is a lot of different scenarios. You had asked us in August to come up with scenarios. We have drafted that document and it's ready to go, and it's a lot of the kind of questions that are both future oriented but also heavily determined by our financial situation. And so I don't know that if we ask the community, if you ask the community, would you like to have a library, 5-minute bike ride from your house, they're gonna say yes. That isn't necessarily a feasible plan going forward for us. So I think we have to look at a lot of different things that we talked about at last year's retreat around Carnegie, around Meadows, you know, and then the old buildings, Reynolds, and this one, that are in need of some upkeep. And perhaps a lot of money.
Okay.
So one of the things, so do we call this the 2026 to 31 plan, or is it 2027 to?
I hadn't thought about that. You know, the city plan, the city master plans for every 10 years, right?
Right.
And so that was
I know
a
this
big
is
plan.
5-year, but I just
We're
didn't know
looking
if
more to, I mean,
the year that you do it?
the actions that will be in the plan are outlined for 5 years. I don't know that we will, you know, I just think it's yet to be seen. Will we do a library in 5 years? I don't know. We need to have an answer as to what we're doing in the next 5 years for sure. Whether we're doing it, actually building a library in Meadows in 5 years, I don't know the answer to the question.
Yeah.
We'll have to have an answer about that question.
Yeah.
What are we doing with Carnegie? We need to have an answer about what we're planning to do.
And one of the handouts that I brought back from the state library conference this past year was sort of a listing of various committees of the board and that kind of thing. And they had a really good description and a rationale for why a board should be involved in the strategic planning process, and having like sort of a board liaison, you know, sounding board committee of 2 or something like that.
So are you volunteering?
Well, I'm wondering if we never really talked about it, and maybe we talked about it at the retreat, and that Tom had a real interest in the strategic plan and be engaged in that, but maybe you're feeling like there's enough, I don't know. But anyway, I just bring that up because I think it is important that the board has, you know, some engagement and ownership, and that we.
So in March, we're gonna present to you 4 or 5 options and ask you to tell us which 2 or 3 you want us to move forward with. So that'll be an opportunity to weigh in on that. And then my intention is to just report out what we're doing, what kinds of things we're planning, if we have a plan, when the activities will be held, if you want to be involved in those activities. So there will be opportunities for you to weigh in and give us guidance.
So that's the same meeting where we're going to be dealing with the collective bargaining part?
In March next month?
Wait, so it's probably no,
because we're not having
in March, don't we?
No, we decided not to have a special meeting. So I think we're just we're hoping to just have the one.
That's why I'm raising.
Yeah.
It seems like
That's a pretty big lift.
That's a lot of conversation
Yeah.
I would expect. You want us weighing in on the options. So just think about that in terms of planning the agenda.
Yeah.
I have 2 meetings in March on the calendar.
Do you?
I have that we're doing our regular meeting on the 10th,
I don't know why I thought we said we
and
weren't
then
gonna.
a special meeting on the 24th.
I think Doug said we may have to have one.
I think it was tentative, yeah,
I'm
because I didn't put it.
Are you expecting a lengthy discussion on the policy?
Well, I guess if you're coming in with 4 or 5 options on where this is gonna go, and this is gonna be our first big chance to kind of weigh in on it. I wouldn't want it to be like a 5-minute item, yeah. So that's what I'm saying, like, just to
It'll be a
plan for this
presentation.
discussion time, that if we're also, if we're not having a special meeting, we're gonna end up with a lot of that meeting on collective bargaining, and we're gonna have 45 people in here while we're doing it.
Sure.
Just think about that.
Sure.
I don't have any answer for you. I'm
Well,
just
if we don't
raising
get
that.
through it all, we can always bring it back in April.
Yeah, that's
For more
true.
discussion, if you can't decide or give us direction.
The discussion on the options is really about the capital investment. And we're not gonna get that way. It's about the capital investment. And I don't know that we're gonna get an answer on that about the community, so we can take a few months. The document that we have prepared is not, do you want red, yellow, green, or orange? It's like, everything is a shade of gray. And, I think where it started was like 40 questions, it could have been 60 questions. But it's kind of morphed into options, but none of them are clearly demarcated. So you will be discussing it. I don't expect to have an answer. We may be able to eliminate some choices in March, and if we could, that'd be great. But yeah, it will be I should imagine it's easily a 40-minute discussion or longer.
Yeah.
And we may still be discussing it in August, in fact.
Yeah, okay.
And I see the note here about hiring a consultant, and I think too about last year's process of recruiting, our board members and the board vacancy. And I just remember that we as a board highlighted candidates who had a background in strategic planning and, that kind of thing, and we do have one. So I guess I think we really need to make sure we tap our board members for their talent and expertise in this.
Oh, yeah, I use that.
Consultants being hired to help design our community engagement activities and collect the data for us.
So, I've raised this point before. I think some of the stuff that the staff has done well, that Kate's done well in the past, even consultants ended up being Kate doing it. So I'm always questioning what we're getting, reaching out and hiring consultants, having been one.
So we used this consultant last time we did a master
before?
plan, yes, and we've used her recently to do 2 different data collection tools for us. She is very knowledgeable, has lots of experience with library strategic planning. And it's not a big contract. My intention is to get as much staff involvement as possible, not only to give us feedback, but also to participate in some of the information gathering, working the community engagement sessions, that sort of thing. So more people will be involved from the staff. So we're not expecting to spend a lot of money on this plan. Like the writing will be done in-house.
Any other questions? Okay, let's go
Got my
ahead.
memory over here.
Well, it's exciting to be turning the page literally on the strategic plan. So that's
There's a lot of work to do. And, honestly, I've been doing libraries for 30 years. The last 5 have been fascinating. And I think we'll see that when we do the strategic plan, that there have been some profound shifts really since the pandemic in the way in which people use libraries. And so I'm very interested to find out what those various demographic groups tell us. I think we'll have to have the right questions. I don't know that I know what the right questions are, but the answers to those questions will be critical to us, what we define as libraries of the future. Yeah, the neighborhood and regional library thing is a complicated question, and will be racked, I think, into having to make some hard choices around just financial realism, around all the things that we might do. And of course, it would be great to have a library in every 15-minute walkable neighborhood. It's just not realistic right now, and I don't know when it would be. And I don't know if that's, honestly, I don't know if that's really what the public wants. At this point. It'll be fun. Should we go to the next one?
Absolutely.
We have 3 policies for you tonight. The community collaboration and partnership policy is a brand new policy. We never had one before. We were a member of the city. It's something that we've wanted to have since we have been a district. And you have one before you tonight. So it's all new policy. The other 2 are revisions. The theater use policy is a slight revision of the policy that you had in your packet before, in your policies before, mostly to reflect the change in capacity that we have. And then the donation guidelines policy is also just kind of like a revision to the policy. Essentially, it boils down to we are accepting a lot more things for donation. And the team that runs that, Sophia Siraj, the Volunteer Services team runs that donation to book sale room. They feel like they will easily go into the capacity. So, do you have any questions? How do you want to do them? One at a time?
We should do them one at a time.
What, if any, questions do you have with regard to the theater use policy, which I think was the first one in the packet.
It's pretty short.
So this is a revision of an existing policy.
Yes,
Yeah.
it wasn't redlined because we rearranged it with the policy information at the top
Okay,
and the process information at the bottom.
so what are the
Yeah.
main changes?
The gist of it is that it will still be freely available to the public to look. It's just that that window narrows profoundly by the fact that we are having more events that are either staff run or with partner organizations.
So where is that?
Uh, Well, I think it's covered in the first real paragraph. I mean, essentially the policy. The rest of it is mostly the same.
Okay.
What it stresses is that we're asking groups that book the meeting space, the theater use, for a number. We're asking them for aiming for 100, which would be slightly over 50% capacity.
Have we ever included anything related to safety and security issues or requirements related to events? I mean, beyond fire code capacity?
Well, there's all the policies that the library has. You're prohibited from transacting cash.
Yeah, they have to follow
Doing
rules of
alcohol.
conduct. And we
Yeah,
have,
but I'm just saying like even requiring,
Like insurance.
not insurance, but, you know, security personnel. I don't know, it's like sometimes some events might be more triggering than others and you just want to make sure people are safe or whatever. But,
We don't have it in the policy. There are groups that have requested.
yeah, but I just wonder if we
We have security guards, in all
Should
of our
we-
buildings.
mention of like who pays for that then.
we do. And we have them here every day during
During
But
hours.
if, but if they're after hour, you
They
know,
pay for security after hours.
I mean, and so should that be mentioned in the policy?
Is that a question when people sign up, like that they may or may not need security? I don't remember seeing one.
I think I would all say that they do. The difficulty, and we have had to meet with some groups who've requested security to keep some people out. We do not do that. So the responsibility is the burden of the group, in the group. The Supreme Court has repeatedly found that you can restrict membership to a group within certain reasons, like an HOA can keep somebody out from attending their meeting if you're not a member of the HOA. There are other cases where they have not been able to restrict, and that's where any element of freedom of speech is
Yeah.
involved. And so like the Girl Scout or the Scouts cannot restrict a gay member of the community from being present at the meeting, though they tried and lost at the Supreme Court level. So when it comes to the freedom of expression, those things are not. And so what we've had in the theater always trace back to the freedom of expression. We tell them they can ask people to leave if you're running across the stage with I don't know, free the hostages or free Palestine. I think that is a freedom of expression, and we would not prohibit somebody from doing that. If they kept getting up and saying buy Coca-Cola, that's not necessarily freedom of expression, it's an advertisement, we could ask them to leave. But everybody wants security. It is oftentimes challenging for people to understand how security works in a quasi-public space, which allows for more freedom of speech, especially from the stage.
Should we, I don't know, have some reference to that in the policy?
It comes up, we do, I don't know if we need to have it in the policy.
Would we just maybe think about like adding another term of use to just say that if an organizer wishes to have security after hours, that they would be responsible for providing that? Is that something we could do or
I
something
think we
like that?
require it right now. So after hours, the theater's open late on Thursday and Saturday nights.
Okay.
That's not after hours, we provide security for those events. If somebody were to book the space truly after hours, at times we're not open,
Right.
we require them to have security listed.
Okay. And at their own cost. At their own
At their
cost.
Might be worth saying that.
Yeah, maybe.
Are you sure?
I think so.
Because when we had the former service model, we paid for security to be there. And I built that into the budget, the hours of this, that the Canyon Theater's open past hours.
Yeah, I was thinking of JLF and now feasibly Sundance. We're asking them to pay for security.
Yeah, we might ask them to pay, but we would provide it and bill them.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they, yeah, but I think, I just suggested, it makes sense for it to be in policy.
And in the case of JLF, wouldn't that be more of one of these partnerships than just the theater use?
Yeah.
Theater use. And I would say the majority of the events that are going to be covered by this policy are staff-led events, not outside groups. There will be some, but they have to meet that attendance requirement, and that's difficult.
We have some time. I want to come back with something about security. Anything else?
I just wondered about access to, if we make any mention to just access to the theater through the side or something. Just the safety of, entrance, using this entrance and,
I'm not sure what you're getting.
I don't know, because, I guess it depends on what time of day it is, but I think you'd want your flow of people going to the theater to be coming in through this entrance here.
Over here?
Over here.
Yeah, we
Yes.
open that, that's the entrance they
But we don't make any mention of,
That might make more sense, like in a, like they send you like a list of like, here's how this works, here are all the directions, here's what we provide, et cetera, et cetera. That might make more sense in that document, the communication with an organizer.
okay, I've never seen, I haven't.
I've done it once and I remember I got like a really nice, here are all the things you need to know. And I think that the access was in there.
Okay.
You could double check that. Andy?
Yeah, just to maybe close out the security discussion real quick. I mean, the only reason I think we would change the policy is if we envisioned a scenario where we would tell someone they couldn't do an event because of security concerns. And David, I assume, has that ever come up? Okay. Yeah, I think event by event security considerations are probably going to be too hard to encapsulate in a policy. Like to Sylvia's point, those are going to need to be handled on kind of an event by event basis. But yeah, unless we want to get into the business of going, we don't want this event. We don't want this event because it's a security concern, and like that gets really touchy because it's basically a heckler's veto. So you got to be real careful there. I'm okay with it as is. I get what you folks are saying, but it seems like it's probably too specific to have in the general policy.
Yeah, no, Andy, my point is that it should be some reference to security, safety and security of participants in some way. And not outlining specifics of it, but to say that the library would be providing this service during these hours, but if it's something else,
that fall under partnership agreement.
Yeah.
An agreement.
Yeah.
The terms of whatever, who's paying for security, what the hours are, that would all be in a specific agreement with the partner organization. This is just for events like
So maybe
during operating hours.
Maybe it would be helpful the next time we talk about this, is just let's see a partner agreement.
Well, we don't have
That's the new, that's the new one.
that's the
You're
new
talking
policy.
about-
Yeah.
This is the theater, but like, so in this case, it's with the theater use policy, if like Boulder Bookstore has an author talk and they need 100 people, so it's an outside third party event, they need 100 people, it happens on a Tuesday night.
They
would
want to
pay-
charge, they'd be a partner, not just
But I'm saying if they aren't charging, I'm just trying to think of all third party.
okay.
There's several else examples, that might be a bad one, because it's a private company, but some third party wants to have an event for free in the library on a night that we don't normally keep the library open late
Still be a partnership.
for one event.
And it would have to meet the criteria in that.
I thought the partnership thing said it was for like multi-day events.
Well, it's 1 to 3 events. The reality is, in all likelihood, we would probably have to say no. So if somebody wanted to have it, the answer to that question is just no. We want to do an event for free for the public late on a Tuesday night. We don't have the capacity, having reduced that staff by half, to run a Tuesday night event. And so part of I don't know if it's not that much more restrictive, but the acknowledgement, the changes in the policy are to acknowledge in some ways that we have fully half the capacity that we did have in in 2025 in the theater. And so we will be saying no to a number of events that probably last year we would have said, sure, come on in. And we'll adjust our schedules, we'll do all these things, but we are not going to be doing that.
So are you saying that for the purposes of this main library canyon theater use policy, it's very rare that we're going to be talking about a third party?
No,
I'd say very rare.
it's probably 20 to 30% of the programming in the theater slots are to the public in general. Probably half
It'll
of
be
the
during
events.
business hours, and it will be, there will be a staff member available, and we'll have security. Because we would anyways.
I can't remember what the exact dates. I think it's.
So maybe I
Wednesday,
just
Thursday,
missed
Friday.
in here where it said that this had to occur during business hours in the library.
Well, that's the only time it's.
Oh, it's, yeah, like number 3 in terms of use has the time.
I see.
Yeah, but it just says unless approved for after hours.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking it was a good question to say, like, if the library's closed otherwise, and so our security is not here,
Right.
but there's some kind of event, it's not a bad question, like, how would an event handle that?
Yeah.
But it sounds like that's not gonna happen, basically. Okay. So then it wouldn't
Not
need to
currently.
show up in here. Got it.
Yeah, I mean, this doesn't necessarily have to be in the policy, but David, maybe the thing that would be helpful here, because I think this is the same confusion the board's running into, is how this interacts with the partnership policy. And basically, when does someone show up and just apply for the theater versus when do we send them to the partnership policy, and what's that going to look like in the future? We do have that language at the very end that says organizers may reserve the theater up to 8 hours per month, including one library designated after hours evening event per month. I don't know that we define what after hours means in that case or if it matters, but I mean, it seems like that's maybe where some of the confusion's coming from.
Yeah, I think it might be helpful.
I think after hours is probably not the way to describe that. We've changed the schedule so that we are staffing it outside of the normal, 9 to 7 or 10 to
Do we
7.
want to maybe just clarify that language then to strike after hours? And I mean, I guess the question is, do you want to revise this policy and bring it back to us? But it does seem like there's some confusion there, and we could make it clear that we only accept events during specific hours. And it sounds like what we're really saying is you can only request one event within these specific hours each month that are those after hours events.
Yeah, well, we can polish it up and bring it back. I mean, we really weren't trying to put a positive spin on a negative situation.
No,
Because it is more than, it's 50% reduction in staff, and it's a slightly more than 50% reduction in availability of time for the public to be booking the theater. So we didn't want to say that. We wanted to say something positive, but it's,
The policy going forward doesn't have to refer to the changes that it's making to itself. It's just, the point is this is the policy going forward, but I think people are gonna be like, when can I reserve this? And so I think just a basic sort of time question, it'd be helpful to get that answered more clearly somewhere.
Okay, are we ready to move on to the partnership? Community collaborations partnerships?
yeah, so this is an attempt to put together a policy for formal and informal relationships in the theater. Partner organizations can be a lot of things. Obviously, JLF is one example that we have. Boulder Bookstore is another one that is likely a partner organization. El Centro de Amistad is one that would likely be a partner organization. Based on how we utilized the theater last year, we went through some either hoops or exceptions to make it possible for those groups to have the theater for a period of time. It also acknowledges the difficulty of professional organizations to put on events in the theater without at least recouping some of the costs. Now, some groups repeatedly book the theater and were able, to pull that off. I don't know that they'll want to come back and do all free events or all pay events. In any case, the partnership agreement is an attempt to both allow them to recover their costs of putting on an event in the theater, to the extent that they can provide other programs to the public for free is something that we're looking for in all the partnership agreements. It does mean that there will be ticketed events. In some cases, Boulder Bookstore wasn't a bad example because this is one of the groups that we had in mind. when we went to partnership policy. In the past, Boulder Bookstore used the theater for putting on events, and they sold tickets for $5, which you could use as a coupon off the sale of a book at the end of the event. In order to get around the policy, not get around the policy, in order to make it work, that continuing to work with the policy that the board had made that all events had to be free, the foundation actually offset those costs for the Boulder Bookstore in order for us to get those book events in the library. This new policy would enable Boulder Bookstore to do that management themselves without the foundation actually directly fronting them the money. It also probably allows for groups that we used to pay to come and perform at the library, like the Boulder Philharmonic or the Boulder Symphony, to come back under the idea that they would be able to charge a small fee in order to recover the cost to pay the performers that they have to put on a show at the library. This policy, if I can, I'd like to draw your attention to the exceptions too, because the exceptions are important in this policy. At the end, we can make exceptions for events that have either a cultural or economic significance for the city that would then enable them to the exception of the policy. And by that, we definitely need Sundance.
It's the Sundance.
It is that's the only group that we would have in mind right now. That would be an exception. The Sundance people have seen the partnership policy. They would like to be able to agree to it at some point in the future. In their first year, they don't feel like they can, they don't know if they have the capacity to meet the part of the partnership agreement that would be beneficial for free to the public library customers. Though it is their intent to do that in the future, we don't have that letter of intent for you tonight. I'm hoping that when you do read through the policy, you do look at the exception, because that is, in all likelihood, probably the first group that we would be making an exception for.
I'm curious about, so in the application, like
Yes.
the actual, so I noticed, like earlier you said you would like to have at least 100 people attending events. So that 100, does that apply to the regular Canyon Theater goer? Because I don't see that over on the theater use side.
Yeah. It is a criterion that we're using evaluating the theater going forward.
Okay.
So events that can fill the theater are groups that are gonna likely be invited back. If you consistently have 12 or
Right.
20 people when you're in the theater, we'll encourage them to use a different space within the library.
So should we maybe add that to the Canyon Theater use policy? Because I don't think, it just says what the capacity is, but I don't see that we are asking them to have at least 100 people in that policy.
Yeah, it's more of a conversation.
I get we want to have people who have bodies in. 100 is actually pretty high. I mean, a lot of groups, because people don't go out like they used to. So just be careful about that.
Yeah, I hear you, Tom. It's an expensive program. And so, do we have it if the public doesn't want it? I guess is the question.
Well,
I think
you're
you're
gonna have
absolutely
groups that are gonna wanna do it. I mean, you're gonna have organizations that wanna partner. I'm just saying, whether it's here or at the dairy, anywhere, they struggle everywhere to get people in the room.
Yes, no, I know.
Yeah.
Because the pattern, another pandemic-related pattern is people don't go out the same way they used to.
I know.
And in this town, particularly because it's older, some people were, there's still a significant number of people who won't go to an event or they'll only go to an event mask because of all the theaters. So just,
Right.
I think we want to be a little bit careful about not putting a number in here, but phrasing this in a way that it's there's some optimal use, because we may find all of a sudden we don't have anybody that fits the category.
Oh, there were groups that filled the theater up, that routinely filled the theater up. Some unexpected, right? Like, and so I think we'll find plenty of partners. I mean, the Boulder Bookstore, for instance, filled the theater, I think, every single time. There were some, films filled the theater. That one Ukrainian documentary that I didn't even see coming, but a packed house. And so I think there are groups that can do it and will do it. What we found the groups that consistently do it are the ones that have their own mailing list and reach, right? And so we learned better who some of those groups are that can do it, and we will prioritize them in the initial partner list to encourage them to use the space. And we also know a bunch of groups who consistently did not. And so there's not a heavy incentive for us to encourage them to continue to come and do use the theater. The theater, though, it's a very expensive proposition if you're trying to make a free space available to the public. And I mean, there were great ones that I went to. There was a woman who booked the theater to do a lecture on African American history. 6 people showed up. It was a great lecture. She was awesome. 6 people showed up. So nobody wanted it. We would not encourage her to come back. A lot of the programs that we did with CU, on the other hand, did fill up. City of Boulder typically brings out a pretty good crowd. There are some partners who are more reliable to fulfilling the audience, which makes it more cost effective for us. And I know we have to have this conversation at some point with the board. It's like, how long do we do stuff when it's not clear that people are interested? It is a question of running any business. The public library is no different than that. If nobody's interested in it, if we were a business, it would have been out of business. What we're doing is we're trying to support a system that would allow for groups to come in and maybe do some cost recovery and or have some level of a subsidized entity in order to put on a performance or give a lecture or show a film in a public space that's more public. But is it something that is easily consistent with our right down the center of our mission? I don't know the answer to that question.
Does it help to know that we plan on accepting applications once a year and choosing 1 to 3 partners at most?
And that's what I wondered about in the policy of some indication of who decides, like who has the authority.
It's in there.
Is it where?
Applications are evaluated by a staff team from the following areas: programs and events, public services, and outreach. The team will provide a recommendation to the Director of Public Services, who will accept or decline the organization's application.
Within what period of time?
I think they come in August.
Yeah, they come in August. I don't know. I don't know that we have that figured out quite yet.
Maybe a time frame.
Yeah, I think what the plan is that they would do a
Application.
deadline, an annual application process, and deadline.
So we accept it in August, we review it in September for the following year.
I want to get to Andy. He's had his hand up for a while.
Yeah, David, maybe this is a question for you, and it goes back to the exception point. What actually, what do you see about Sundance triggering the exception here? Because it doesn't seem like it's the right to charge. It seems like any of our partners can charge. So I guess where do you see the exception clause? Why Sundance is an exception, or what are the other scenarios you think would trigger the exception clause?
We're not offering free programs this first year.
They wouldn't be able to offer anything back to the library for free.
But even other partners are allowed to charge. We don't say they have to be free in here. It explicitly gives partners the right to charge.
No, I think it has to be approved. And it will have to be stated in the agreement, so we have to agree to it to allow them to do it.
Yeah, one of the bullets under BPLD offers formal partners authorization to charge admission fees with proof that the fees are necessary to cover the costs of the event. So it sounds like any partner can charge. It's not necessarily an exceptional state of charging.
Of the purpose of the fee.
So are you just seeing the exception clause then as a safety valve where if there's just something in here that doesn't fit, it just gives us some leeway to come in and say, we'll do it anyway? Or I guess it just doesn't seem to me like Sundance would necessarily even need an exception.
Well, Sundance is also a lot longer.
Well, but we're
It just
asking,
talks about 1 to 3 day events. Sundance is 2 or 3 weeks.
and we are asking all of our partners to provide ways that they're going to activate the space for free throughout the year. That's what when we approached Sundance said they did not feel like they could do that in year one as much as they would like.
I like having an exception clause. It's just, like I said, I think we're going to need to be a little crisper about when we route someone to an exception versus when they, what count. A lot of these policy points are very broad. I think you could probably say Sundance even charging for events fits the letter of the policy as currently written. So I think it's just going to be, I mean, David, this probably is going to come down to your discretion is basically what you want to refer back to the board to make a decision on. But I think the policy gives you guys pretty broad leeway already without actually needing an exception.
Well, you would have to approve an exception, it says in here.
Yeah, it's more leeway than I want, honestly. You know, to give the theater to an outside group, whether they're a nonprofit or for-profit, for 2 weeks or 3 is not an exception. I mean, it's I don't know. It's complicated, you know.
Sort of along a similar line, the first sentence after where it says partnership application and review process, it says the district may initiate a formal partnership at any time. Partnerships initiated by another organization are reviewed on an annual basis. I'm just thinking, like, what that first sentence, what is that intended to cover?
If we want to pursue one,
But
rather
like,
than them come to us.
if this is somebody who like hasn't already thought of this on their own and like we want to reach out to them proactively, that's what we're thinking about there.
Maybe, but I think it's more likely again back to Boulder Bookstore. Once we have a policy in place, we'll probably approach them right away. They filled the theater, I don't know, was it 5 times last year? But we wonder if it can't be 7 or 10 or 12.
Okay.
And so that would be a kind of an ideal partner organization.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you mean. I was just wondering how we would, it felt sort of, it's like, how would we know that the partnership exists if they hadn't applied to be a partner? Like, so, but that makes sense.
So are we thinking we can pass this tonight?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, anybody want to make a motion?
I'll motion to pass the partnership policy as drafted in the packet.
Second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
No? Okay, passes.
I hope the materials deadline, materials acceptance donation guidelines is an easier document. It's got a lot of red stuff in there. It essentially means we're accepting more stuff.
There's a clean version of it.
That's good.
Does anybody have any questions?
This is pretty straightforward.
I want to know if we're going to sell vinyl in the bookstore. We're going to start accepting vinyl.
It's like, so what?
Vinyl, we're going to
Vinyl.
accept vinyl. We haven't accepted vinyl in 30 years.
And they'll just sell it over here.
I don't know. That's what I'm wondering.
We got it.
Maybe. You can get your
I would move approval of the material
material.
donations guidelines. Are you looking for that
Yes.
as presented to us here?
Great. Was that a second, Andy?
Yeah, seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, passes. So next we have director updates.
Yeah, and it's all about Sundance. Sundance and volunteers. So I'll start with volunteers because I love this thing that the volunteer program puts together every year. It's just a short infographic of the impact of volunteers, 19,000 hours, almost 19,000 and a half hours. That is, I don't know, say equivalent of like 10 full-time staff members. That's pretty big. This is a small group that keeps cooking. Sophia, Siraj, Kate used to oversee volunteers before she oversaw literacy and outreach. You should give her credit. She hired Sophia, and Sophia Siraj is just doing a great job in the program. This is one of those areas where we do have vacancies. It's a small group of 3. It's our intent to fill the third position vacancy that we have in that department sooner rather than later, because I think the need for volunteers just gets bigger and bigger every year.
Amazing. I like that the board of trustees are called out and the foundation gala is on there as well.
And then the other part is the Sundance Film Festival. I think we've talked about it all. I had hoped to have a letter of intent from them for you in the packet we probably have it next month or something like that. They were unable to get it to us. It's not public, there will be an announcement soon about the venues. I believe we will be on it, for the venues for Sundance. I think they seem like they're really ramping up and our staff are in touch with them with some regular.
I think I told David this, I don't know if I mentioned this to others, but I did attend the festival last month, and on my own dime, for my own interest to just understand what kind of work is needed, what kind of job employment opportunities there can be for small minority businesses and that kind of thing. But I did hear from and attended a city debriefing and was invited to participate in that. And we just sort of shared our observations and findings from Park City and all that. But one of the things, and I mentioned this to David, that is of concern that we need to pay attention to is employee access to their workplace during the festival. And they have not announced their dates yet, and their focus right now is on hotel rooms and sort of figuring out how far in advance people are going to reserve their rooms, and then the local rent your home, make your home available is a part of that program as well. But traffic and transportation and sort of people flow is another big piece of the program. And what's different about this festival in comparison to Park City is that all the events will be contained here in Boulder, and so there won't be satellite events in Denver or Longmont or Louisville or Lafayette, but they will all be contained in the city of Boulder. And so just that access and bus flow, shuttle flow, and car parking and all that is a big issue. And when I had talked with a retailer in Park City, her message was, don't forget your employees, because they need to get to their jobs and they need to be there to serve the people. And she was relating a story of parking, taking an extra hour to park wherever they remotely park people and get them to, because there's no parking locally for employees, and that was a big deal. The other piece is the venues that once Sundance, they have a preliminary list of where they want to be, holding certain types of events, and they are seeking Colorado Educational and Cultural Facilities Finance Authority funding, that's the board that I sit on, for improvements to the facilities related to lighting, sound, some access, maybe seating, some other things. But that's coming before my board at the end of this month. And, talking to David about it, if there are improvements to the theater, for example, that is an agreement that needs to be shaped around the IGA as well, just as it relates to, what they're doing and the plans related to that. And then the other thing was that I did stop into a library in Summit County, is where Park City is located, and captured some images of some of the library programming that they do related to their festival. And so I just thought that'd be interesting to share with staff and just begin to sort of think about, whether it's books that relate to topics and that kind of thing. But it just made the library just much more of a connection for people who were waiting for the shuttle bus like me and needed a place to stop into. So,
Wow.
Yeah. So very, very interesting. But, again, I just think about our employees and that access, and people who aren't participating in the festival who will be determined to be in their library, right? Drinking coffee in the coffee shop and not being interrupted, right? So, those are the tension points too.
Yeah, I know.
So
It's gonna be great.
yeah.
Okay, foundation updates, Chris?
Sure. I am fresh back from the Night Media Forum in Miami. Maybe aware, Boulder is one of 26 night cities across the country. So,
And I was on the Night Commission Advisory Committee
right,
for a long time. I chaired that.
and so Benita and I have connections in our past back to the Community Foundation here in Boulder, and I've been going to this conference on and off for the last 15 years. I think this is my ninth time, more than 15 years. What I've noticed in that time is more funders flowing towards media and even some refreshingly towards libraries that haven't been before. So it was an important time for me to make some connections with possible national funders to us, and also a good chance to connect with. There were people from Boulder there. I saw Aaron Brockett and Deb Gardner, and then lots of people in the media space here that are old friends. Some of the topics they were focused in on, libraries had in the past been a pre-conference of library leaders, and they moved it into a track within the conference. And that's a hopeful progression. I'm hoping that the topics will become more relevant. You know, the agenda was a little bit too much around digital and AI for my taste, not enough of the meat and potatoes of what I hear around libraries here as well as my colleagues. But I think that may move and change as well. But a worthwhile time. Plus, it's always nice to spend a little bit of February in Miami. So that was that conference, and then a couple other updates. The gala table sponsorships. Thank you to those of you. There are some of you here who have bought tables. We've sold 31 of the 40 available tables already. It's only been a couple of weeks, and the gala's not till September. So that's going very well. We have a first ever book club competition. Kara's signed up. She's one of 250 people who belong to local book clubs. So we're wanting to make a connection with our book club members. We think that's a good affiliation for the Library Foundation. And that'll start on Thursday. It'll run 3 weeks, various activities each of the weeks. So if you're in a book club and you haven't signed up, please plan to sign up through our website. And then related to just the business of the foundation and grant making, we heard a great update last month from David's staff that ran point on the various grants that we awarded. Last year, as you may recall, was a first more formalized process of grant making between the foundation and the library. And so this, in summary, we granted more than 15 grants worth over $300,000. And we heard from, they covered such topics as outreach and literacy, as well as some of the arts going on with artists in residence. And then we have also our dedicated funds, that mostly fund over in Carnegie. And so that was great. It really is inspiring to hear the good work going on with the library. And also, we've got a lot of grants still in play extending into this year. So out of that 300,000, there's probably there's been about 120,000 of it spent. So 180,000 is still being deployed this year. And then at this month's meeting next month, we'll hear from David and a collection of his point people for this year's grants. And those are going to be increasing. Our budget's looking good, and I would anticipate some 320,000 when all's said and done. Of course, there's got to be a board discussion, and we're finalizing some details. But before long here, we'll when you consider you've got 180,000 in last year's grants being activated this year on top of another 315. I mean, you're getting to over 500,000 in play and growing, and that's what we like. And there's growing pains with that too. But to look at what's our guide here from the foundation perspective? It's our values, which we've really begun articulating just in the last year, which is that we operate on trust, collaboration, and innovation. And so we're feeling our way with David and you all in the library about how to grow in a relevant and impactful way that is as close to 100% helpful and as close to 0% hurtful, just when it comes to the doing of the work. So I think that's all the updates I went to, but we're also looking forward to next week's board meeting. These are the 2 board meetings of the year that our board members most look forward to, because we're hearing from the people leading the work throughout the library system, and it's really inspiring.
Thanks.
Thanks.
So I have a question about the Knight Foundation, just because, again, back to what Chris was saying. So they have a commitment to the 26 communities where they had papers and they built their fortune. And when they had their fortune in play in Boulder in like the early 2000s, so let's say.
It was 80s and 90s, actually.
Well, I know because I was chair of the board and I was still breastfeeding my son who's now 27. So it was late 90s, 99, 2000 when they were active, but they had community advisory groups in every city. And Boulder had one, and there were 7 of us who served on this committee, and they took good care of us. They, sort of compensated the committee members with $1,000 stipend every year, and, for meetings and all that. I mean, and they just paid attention to what was going on in each of the communities and seemed to gather and collect data and information and help. I mean, they helped with a lot of the early childhood education programming that we got in place, and legislation that led to the programs that, are funded by the worthy cause tax and some of these other things in the county, right? But I just wondered, so are they not, aligning any resources directly to communities any longer, or they're
So
spending their
since the
money
time
other
you
ways?
started, that was the early 2000s, they morphed a bit. They established $1 million endowment at the Community Foundation at one point, maybe 10 years after that. And then, that had a 5% payout. So you're thinking $50,000 available for the Community Foundation to allocate. They do have an inner ring of nice cities that have a staff program officer in them. We're an outer ring city of those 26. I don't remember the breakdown. It's most of them that are in the outer ring. And so we have a program officer that covers, 15 or more of the cities, who I know does a good job, but she's spread thin. And then they from time to time announce challenges, like at this conference, they announced another Night Cities challenge that'll be opening up here in the next month or so. $5 million to, again, be spread around to all the night cities and anyone in the night cities that want to apply. I think we actually got that Tree to Breed opportunity we had 10 years ago.
Recipient, I think that was 2016. We were finalists in 2018.
Okay. Yeah.
But we've applied, for.
Yeah, we had it in 2016 for a Tree to Breed opportunity. It was a joint program between Makerspace and Parks and Rec. And that was the harvest, ash borer, kill, and do woodworking. Yeah.
That's cool.
We got finalisted for another program that was directly library related. It was kind of almost like a traveling makerspace bookmobile. Dinner party combination. I don't know. It was a pretty. We got finalisted and then didn't. But we went through the full process down to where we had to calculate the cost of insurance for the vehicle on an annual basis.
They just seem to have resources they didn't know what to do with.
They're about the 17th largest private foundation in the country. And, they're making big plays on saving the media. They just gave $10 million to the Bridge Fund to save public radio, rural, all the way out in Alaska and down in deep south. And they're making plays all over the place. They're a very impressive organization.
Yeah.
And they have succeeded, I think, in the last 15 years in attracting other funders to the cause. Their main cause is about saving the industry that the Knight brothers made their fortune in. And, my hope is that, you think the library is a media center, and then, we're merging more and more as libraries and media as a philanthropic cause. So, Benita, it's organized a lot differently, and the good news is it's not just Knight, it's others too. And so whatever Knight publicly may declare as a challenge, that we might, you can get wrapped around that axle, chasing money that winds up being a lot of work and not that much money. But I'm hopeful that there's some quieter, funders hanging around this interest area, that weekend interest in some of the projects that the library is very, very much hoping to get done, regardless of a grant opportunity.
Great. Thank you. Trustee matters? We have board self-assessment discussion on the agenda.
I think that put that probably on the agenda, so we're working through the
responses?
tool, not the tool to go out for you guys to do the questionnaire, I think.
Okay.
We did.
Because we did
respond. Last month.
respond last month.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and Libby was asked to summarize that, provide that information to Doug.
So for future,
Yeah, is it
Discussion.
for your discussion and when are you planning on having a discussion?
yeah.
Last year we did it at the retreat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we were trying to,
I wanted to do it again right before the.
right, I think because the one that we did was actually considered the 2025 assessment, and so the retreat one will be the 2026 assessment. So I don't know, can we maybe figure out what's happening with that? I'll ask Doug as well. Okay.
Let us know when you need to buy that thing, because Libby didn't bring it up, and I said, I think they do that at the retreat, so.
Oh, that might be a mistake, yeah, no,
So
right.
if it's something you want before then,
I think we do.
We didn't
Because
realize
we
the
need
one
to,
you
yeah,
just
we did,
did
yeah, we
was
just
for
need to
last
know what the results
Yeah.
were of the one we just did for
Yes.
2025.
And if
That's
we
what
could-
we're working on.
Yeah, if we could see that, that'd be great.
Yep.
And then,
Okay. Okay, great, I'll just make a note of that. And legal counsel updates?
So nothing too significant. Did want to let you guys know that we are going to be, our office is going to be working with every library in Cal on the changes that they're considering regarding the trustee appointment law. I'm not sure exactly where that's going to go yet. I know that Kim talked to David possibly about being a sounding board for that, but our office is going to be a consultant on that project. The other update is just, I know election is a possibility for November, so we were going to put together an election calendar for you all for next month, just so you see kind of the steps and the deadlines that would be needed for it. In no way would we be suggesting to call the election soon. You actually want to call it closer to the end of summer, beginning of
Yeah, election.
Sorry, election for the 5.25% waiver.
Okay.
Yep, sorry about that. And so if you guys were to call an election, we would suggest that you call it closer to the end of summer, beginning of fall, because once you call the election, that limits what you can do under the Fair Campaign Practices Act in terms of information that you can send out. So what we would suggest is if the board is looking to do it, you may want to consider what type of information you would like to put together and put out to the public, and in terms of the timeline, potentially, I know it sounds like next meeting is going to be pretty packed. So, but coming up in the next couple meetings, you would want to consider what type of information you would really want to put out in terms of why you might be considering election, whether it's the decreased revenue that we discussed, the projects that you all are discussing, any of that is some things that you would want to again, prepare ahead of calling the election, so.
does everybody understand what this one is? This, it used to be the table limitations, those were lifted, and then now the legislature put in a separate cap on the amount that you can do. So in other words, whenever there's a bad year, we just eat it. If we have a good year, we're capped at 5.25. And that was part of the recent legislation in 2023-24. So we had debruced during the course of the election so that we could actually collect the taxes that were according to our mill levy. The legislation that went through in 23 and 24 overrides that thing. So what you've heard Doug say before is re-debrucing. So it essentially is re-debrucing. There was a library that did it this last year. Most libraries have not done it yet. I mean, most districts I think have not done it yet, but a lot of them are considering how to go about the process of re-debrucing given the new legislation.
Okay.
And that's what that is about. It's a relatively a single sentence ballot item that says, with no new taxes, can the library keep the taxes that it's owed?
Yeah.
Sylvia, we may just want to ping Doug and put this as an agenda item on a future meeting because it does probably warrant some discussion.
I will.
So I had a question for you. Kim had sent an email last week, I guess, that there was a bill in the legislature about making the bargaining unit and negotiating. You could negotiate. Do you know if anything has happened with that?
Yeah, he said that, so him and I haven't had a chance to fully discuss it. He just said that he doesn't anticipate the proposed amendment as is affect any of the discussion that you all have had. So he said, so far, it's not significant.
Thank you.
And can you just elaborate real quick? You mentioned a trustee appointment bill. What's the nature of that?
So it's Cal, I don't know if you follow what Cal's doing, but there's a lot of districts that are considering wanting to have a more specific process within the law. And because as you know, the trustee appointment process, the law as it's currently written is very general and it doesn't really give any guidance to the process. And so that's why it's really been through IGAs that trustees have been appointed, and throughout the state, it's becoming more and more controversial. And so some people are trying to get ahead of it by changing the law to have more specifics. And so again, we don't know exactly what all will be proposed. There was discussion at CalCon this last year about potential topics, but that wasn't anything set in stone. And that's what we're going to partially be consulted on, of our thoughts from a legal perspective of what might be a good amendment to the law or not.
In layman's terms, Andy, like some communities some libraries do not have an IGA with their county. Some do, and the county doesn't follow it. Essentially, the process in some communities is not very transparent, and the county commissioners just put who they want in to be the library trustee. And this has been a concerted effort on the Western Slope to kind of stack trustees. My position, and I believe the position of the majority of the libraries in Colorado, is that the process is not flawed. Our politics may be messy right now, but the policy itself is not wrong. Our IGA clearly stipulates what the law says, which is that the appointing authorities have the authority to appoint a board. And so it is the city council and the county commissioners who have that authority. We stipulate the process in the IGA, which gives you guys a small role, and maybe because of where we live, everybody's been comfortable with a very transparent process. Like we publish all of the applications online. We do all of these things. The meetings that the trustees, city council, and are open to anybody if they wanted to watch the interviews. They're all recorded, and those are available to the public to see how people do in the interviews. So I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with the process. My personal belief is there's not anything wrong with the law. Maybe there's problems with the application law. There's a huge risk in opening up library law because it has a lot of oddball, contradictory, crazy stuff in it that I don't want to be quoted on, but it is a complex, 27-page law, and opening it up for the legislature may result in all kinds of wholesale changes, which negatively affect.
Yeah, and I attended that meeting. Now that it's like, it's coming back to me, right? I was there, but and it was a lot of the issues surrounded smaller communities and tensions with county commissioners and district boards, and that wanted to get into more personnel matters, and to do that you would want to appoint the people that you would get on the board, so they would challenge then the director and sort of take on things that didn't but so I just wanted to also related to this, the Library Advocacy Day, and so I participate in the Cal Legislative Committee, and we have a virtual meeting like the first Friday of the month. And just to share a couple updates, the Colorado Library Literacy Day is Monday, March 23rd at the state capitol, and there are events surrounding that, and people, connect with their legislator, and we could certainly do that if people were interested in doing that. I think I'll try to attend Library Advocacy Day at the Capitol on Monday, March 23rd, if anybody wants to join me. And then the Colorado Municipal League Annual Conference this year is in Westminster, and the Library Association has a session that they're organizing, and it's around the issues of community building and addressing loneliness in communities. And so I'm on that committee working on that
When is that?
session, June 23rd through 26th. And yeah,
If anyone does the library advocacy day, my office is literally a block from there, so if you need a place to hang out or chill or something, you just let me know.
okay. Or maybe you join us there
Yeah,
too.
I will certainly consider that.
Yes, I think it'd be kind of interesting to do, but
Sure.
On the trustee, when is the packet going out? Is the packet approved?
I think
or
on Friday,
telling the
well,
public it's-
We're waiting to hear back from the city and the county. But Friday, if we haven't.
You haven't heard by Friday, you're gonna be getting
Yeah.
posted.
That's right.
For the new trustees.
For the new trustees.
Although, still.
You got until Friday.
Yeah, I know,
You can reapply.
Just as a quick update for folks as well, Tom and I are meeting with some of the staff organizers this Sunday. Presumably, they will be giving us feedback on the policy that they heard about at the meeting last week. We'll relay that feedback to you all after that meeting concludes, and we can decide if we want to have a discussion about any further revisions from there.
And I think that might help us pin down whether we have a special meeting or not. Yeah. Okay.
When are you meeting with them?
Sunday.
Sunday.
All right. Anything else?
Just to close out real quick on that, about the kind of trustee bill. I mean, it sounds like it's premature for us to even really have any, we don't even know what it's going to say yet, but I would just say, if there is a change to the law here that reflects what we're already doing, presumably we're fine with it. But if there's a change to the law here that would change what we're doing, we might take a policy position on it, which means let's just be careful about conflict and things of that variety.
Okay. Anything else? All right, we're adjourned.